Senator Cassidy's coming in. You're muted, Teresa.
It is 9:01. We're going to get the meeting started. I'm going to ask Vice Chair Delegate Susan McComas to start us in a word of prayer.
Dear Heavenly Father, the sun is shining in Annapolis. I always like to say the sun is, it's always sunny in Annapolis, and today it is. It's a little cool, but still it's a bright blue sky, a day of a lot of hope and promise. We hope that you keep us fortified, on task, and victorious. Amen.
Thank you, Delegate McComas. And we have Delegate Shalega is going to lead us in the pledge.
Sorry, I had to unmute.
Okay.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Delegate Shalega. Okay, we call this meeting to order. I have a few remarks first to mention, and I just wanted to let the delegation know that next week we will be meeting and we will only be dealing with all of our liquor bills. Hopefully we'll be able to vote one out today that's on the agenda, but the others, we had discussion on a couple last week. I know Delegate Johnson has another one that we will be discussing next week on the agenda, and plus most likely the one that is on the agenda today. It's just discussion today, and next week we may have a little bit more discussion and then also a vote. And the reason why we have to finish up next week on the liquor bills is because we have to have them dropped by Friday, the 4th, so that they would be ready for ECM on the 21st. There is an option that we could, if we weren't quite ready, we can go ahead and drop them as the current sponsors on the bill, and then hopefully amend it as a delegation later. But normally what happened last year, we couldn't change it to a delegation, and it kept with the sponsor on there. So normally when we pass liquor bills in the delegation, it is a delegation bill, and we want the sponsor to be a delegation. So hopefully we will have all those ready for next week. So just heads up on that. And then we'll get back to the school board bills the following week. Okay. We also have Harford Community College that is asking to meet with the delegation, the Senate and the House members on Student Advocacy Day. They're looking at the week of February the 14th, either a Monday or Tuesday. So we will follow up on that confirmation, and it will be done Zoom this year like it was last year. So hopefully when we set that up, that most of the delegates and senators can plug in somewhere along the line to meet the students from the college. We also, on the Aegis article, the first one was submitted this week. We started this week, and that was myself. So we still have 3 members within the House and the Senate that still have not responded, that they will have their, their week that we had submitted for their Aegis article. So please, if you haven't responded, please do that to the secretary to let them know that you received the memo and you are aware of the date that your article is due for the Aegis. So now we're going to move into our old business. And this one is the one that Delegate Johnson. So Delegate Johnson, I'm just going to have you do a brief introduction of the bill, and then hopefully a short discussion, since we did do this one last week and it seemed like everyone was in favor.
Delegate Riley, are you going to look at the minutes beforehand or after?
Well, I totally missed the minutes. So we will go back. Sorry, Delegate Johnson, we'll go back to the minutes. I always forget that. And my vice chair is supposed to remind me of those minutes. So anyway, so do we have a motion? The minutes were sent out. Do we have a motion to approve last week's minutes? Okay, Delegate McComas first. Do I have a second? Delegate Johnson second. Okay, any discussion? All right, we're going to make this easy. If you do not like the motion, then raise your hand. Okay, so Cindy, we don't need a roll call. We can just say no hands raised in opposition. So it passed unanimous. Thank you, everyone. Okay, now we'll go into, thank you, Cindy, go into the old business. And we will do Delegate Johnson, brief discussion, and then, or introduction, and then we'll have questions and then vote, hopefully.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. This bill, right now, there's Ripken Stadium. It states that they can only sell drinks in styrofoam, plastic, or paper, which of course we've done away with the styrofoam. So after checking other stadiums around the state, their language is by the drink or by the bottle. So trying to be consistent with the rest of the,
Okay,
there's
hold on.
only a couple stadiums that are not don't have this language, and I think they're looking to either amend or put in their own legislation to change theirs as well. So this makes it more consistent with most stadiums around the state.
Okay, and we also have, I believe we have Paul Medusky from the Liquor Control Board from Harford County. I know that we do have a letter of support with this one, and that is good. Do you have any comments?
Nope, we are in full support of this bill.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you,
Okay.
Madam Chairman. Thank you,
Do we
Paul.
have, you're welcome. Do we have any further discussion? I see no further discussion.
Look at
Yes, you
Lasante
do.
has her
Well,
hand up.
I'm sorry, my little thingy's in your hand way. Yeah.
Okay.
Hold on. There we go.
And then
Okay,
Delegate
so-
McComas.
All right, Delegate
Just
Lasante.
briefly, Delegate Lasante and I had a brief conversation in the garage last night, and I was blocking traffic. But anyway, I believe she has some clarifying amendments, and it made sense to me, just what she expressed. So please, Delegate Lasante, go for it.
Is that okay, Madam Chair?
Yes, Delegate Lasante, yes.
Thank you very much. At the last delegation meeting, when we discussed this bill, I was a little bit concerned about why this provision was put into law, and because it was my bill originally, and I couldn't remember at the time. So I went back and looked, and basically the idea of having plastic cups or styrofoam cups or whatever was originally a public safety measure, because obviously you don't want bottles, as in glass bottles, in a stadium. When groups become rowdy or anything like that, it becomes a weapon if you toss a glass bottle. So in the way the bill is written, it just says a bottle. I recommend, and I've actually discussed this with Ripken Stadium, and I think they are fine with this amendment. But if you look at page 3, section 2, basically, if we basically said this paragraph, an individual may serve beer, wine, and liquor during the baseball game, and strike the language that we're striking in this bill, only in a plastic, styrofoam, or paper container. That's fine, but we don't need the redundant by the drink or by the bottle, because we don't define what a bottle is from one or more of the outlets on premises. In the second paragraph, so basically we would simply strike only in a plastic, styrofoam, or paper container, strike that, and then strike the rest of that paragraph as written. In section 2, an individual may serve beer, wine, or liquor in a glass container only in the club level, where there's dining or patron seating. One of the things that I think we need to think about when we're doing particularly alcohol law is what's going to happen to the stadium 5 years from now, 10 years from now. And we have to me, I think it's restrictive to define what type of container it is, but I think we have to be very clear that we don't want glass in the stadium only, unless it's only for private events.
Okay, thank you, Delegate Lasante. What we'll have is Charity, which is our council. Did you understand what Delegate Lasante wanted? Okay,
Easy
so we will
change.
have, okay, so we will have Charity write that change up for us, and then we'll give that
Okay.
to our sponsor, which is Delegate Johnson, to look over.
Right.
And then we'll probably have to hold off until next week
Okay.
so that everybody can see the amendment. Is
I,
that fine?
I love the spirit of the bill. I think what they're trying to do is great. I just want to preserve the idea going forward that we do that, and be very, very clear that we do not want a bottle to be glass.
Okay. All right.
Madam
Thank
Chair.
you very much, Delegate Lasante. Delegate McComas, you have a follow-up?
I just have a question. I know that some beers are now being packaged in aluminum cans, or well, not cans, but aluminum bottles. And I just wondered if the fact that it could, if it hits somebody, well, even a can, it could hurt them if it's full. So I just kind of wonder, you know, because even glass is more lethal, but you know, a can of 16 ounces fully, I don't mean to, because I think we've got to be practical, but I just kind of throw that out. Is that a concern or not? Maybe it isn't. I mean, I just wondered about that because I was thinking aluminum bottles.
Right. I think most stadiums, including Camden Yards, use
Yes.
aluminum bottles.
Okay, then
it-
if that's the industry
In
standard,
my research, that's what I found.
okay.
I just want to be very, very clear that we are not allowing glass bottles.
Okay, now we have Delegate Shalega, and then we'll go to Delegate Johnson.
Thank you. I'm not sure if you addressed lines 10 and 11 on page 3. An individual may serve beer, wine, and liquor in a glass container only in the club level. So, or dining area. So, Delegate Lasante, do you want that stricken from the bill? No glass anywhere?
No, I'm fine with the glass on the club level. It's just the definition of a bottle. We have it in the paragraph before, we reference bottle, and nowhere in the bill or anywhere I can find we've actually defined what a bottle is. Clearly, the way the legislation is, or way the law is currently written, we talk about what type of containers. Here, we just simply reference a bottle. And so I mean, I think it's an issue that maybe the delegation wants to discuss. But my amendment is to clarify that a bottle is not glass. But yes, you are absolutely correct to say that the way this bill is written, you are still allowing glass to be on the club level.
And dining area.
And dining area.
Which
And-
is different than the club level.
Well,
Because
and
you know where that
you bring
dining
up
area is.
you bring up a
often-
really interesting point that I raised with Ripken Stadium yesterday. What is a dining area? We've all been to Ripken Stadium. If you go out onto there's like a plaza, if you
The
will.
first base side.
Right, exactly. Is
Both
that
sides,
considered a dining area? And what if in the future, maybe an outside vendor would come in and say, I want to provide my, Hopkins Brewery wants to come there and provide their services there. Would they then be allowed to have glass? That's pretty close to the players and to where people reside. We need to talk about that.
Okay, I just wanted to bring that up because I'm.
No,
reading
it's a
the bill
good
and saw
point,
that.
Delegate Shalega. It really is.
And-
And that's what I'm
and,
getting at. I think,
Yeah.
and maybe we can work with the drafter if it is the will of the delegation to be very careful where we allow glass.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because
Well,
clearly
I would
that
just-
you could say the dining room area is the enclosed section on the second floor or
You could
whatever.
say that. The bill doesn't say
Right.
that currently,
Right.
but
Okay.
yeah, that
All right.
certainly that's a way to
And then,
to deal with it.
Finally, Delegate McComas's comment about the aluminum bottle, I don't think is germane, like you said. I've had plenty of beer at Oriole Park in a metal aluminum shaped thing that's a bottle. I don't think that's a problem.
Okay, we're going to move on. Thank you, Delegate Szeliga and Delegate Asante. We're going to move on to Delegate Johnson.
Thank you, and thank you, fellow delegates, for trying to look and be as safe as we can. The stadiums around the state do serve beer in the aluminum cans. The bottles are mostly for the wine, because it does say they can sell wine and liquor up in the club and dining area. I didn't want to restrict them, that if over in that area off of third base, that big area they have for people to come in and have events, that has, that they cordon that off. And I didn't want to restrict if they are having a big event, a corporate event or something, APG, somebody over there, that they couldn't serve wine and stuff in the bottle over in that area. This is the exact same language that most of the stadiums around the state have, and they haven't seemed to have had a problem. So that's why I wanted to stay consistent with the language. But, if you think we need to do something different, we can talk about that.
Okay, thank you, Delegate Johnson. Delegate Arkan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to echo what Delegate Johnson just said. I mean, this is a upstanding business with functional people running it. I think they can make their own decisions about what's safe for their patrons. And I don't think they're going to make a choice that adversely affects the outcome of their business or any of the residents of Harford County. So I would prefer we move the bill in its current form.
Okay, thank you, Delegate Arkan. And one quick follow-up from Delegate Asante.
Certainly, and Delegate Arcana, nobody is criticizing the management at Ripken Stadium. And when we do, particularly state alcohol legislation, we have to be very, very clear as to what our intent is. I think it's very interesting to even recount the idea that of the testimony from Ripken at the last delegation meeting, where they didn't even know that restriction was placed into law when they requested alcohol to be served at the stadium. So we have to be very, very careful. We're lawmakers, and we have to look for today. We have to look for tomorrow for other situations. It is not specific to a business. It is specific to a law and a use. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Delegate Asante. So my question to Delegate Johnson, since you are the sponsor of this particular LR, is Delegate Johnson with us?
He was, yes, he's still there, but maybe his feed has dropped off.
No, seen there.
I see his little, I don't see him.
Delegate Johnson, are you there?
He's coming back. Hold on. He must have gotten kicked off.
His icon is there.
He's coming.
Okay.
He's back. I think.
Okay, Delegate Johnson, we lost you there for a minute. Are you back?
Delegate Johnson, are you muted?
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. It just dropped out.
Okay, so our question to you now, because we have a couple different thoughts on the table at this point of the discussion. So we're going to let you make the decision. This is your LR. Do you want us to wait for the amendment drawn up by Charity that Delegate Asante had mentioned, and also maybe include some of the comments that Delegate Szeliga had mentioned, or go ahead and ask for a motion and a second to vote the bill as is? Unmute, please.
I want to make sure we make the best bill possible. So I'm willing to speak with anybody who has any ideas about making it a better bill, if you think
Okay,
that's
great.
the way we need to go.
Okay. All right, then, so be it. We are going to put this bill on hold. Hopefully, Charity can get the amendment to the sponsor of the bill. The amendment will go to the sponsor, which would be Delegate Johnson. We ask that Delegate Johnson, as soon as you get that amendment, if you could send it to the delegation, that we could get it sent out to the members so that they can look at it before next week.
Just very quickly, if I may, Charity, if you call me, I'll work with you to get it done, and we can expedite it and get it to Delegate Johnson and the rest of the committee very quickly.
And Delegate Johnson, is that okay with you?
I do have one question, Madam Chairman. Now, is this going to restrict them where they can't serve wine if they have events in other areas of the stadium that are set up for that to have events in there?
That's not my intent, but, and we can actually work together and come up with some language that assures that ability still exists.
Okay, we would appreciate that. If Delegate Lasanti, Delegate Johnson, work with Charity on that amendment and get that to us as soon as possible. We'll have this discussion next week and hopefully vote on this bill. Okay, we have to move on. Do we have Senator Castley? Okay, I see Senator Castley. So now we're actually going to talk about LR 1064. And I'm going to have the senator introduce the bill. We have the cross file, or I have the cross file on the House side, and the delegation would have to vote on that. And we do, after Senator Castley introduces the bill, we do have several folks here to talk about the bill as well. And then we also have Paul for follow-up. Okay, so Senator Castley, you're on.
Sure. So this is in most of the state, you can't buy alcohol on credit, that the retailer has to pay the wholesaler in full up front. As a result, however, in 5 counties, they can work with the wholesalers to purchase alcohol on credit. Doesn't mandate credit, it allows that as an option. As a result of the pressures of COVID, both on the small retailers and also on bars and restaurants, due to the financial hardship, they would like to be able to have the option of purchasing their alcohol on credit through the wholesaler. This is done in Baltimore County, but not in Harford or Cecil. It's just 5 counties that allow it. Our neighboring county is just limited to Baltimore. So the idea is just as an assist to the troubles, the challenges that the smaller retailers are facing, that they want to also be allowed to purchase on credit. So I know there's some concerns with that, and I'm glad to see Nick Manis here. He can better explain those concerns. I did meet with him. So look forward to hearing from everybody. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Senator Castley. And now I'm going to ask actually Mr. Nick Manis from Manis Canning to speak first. And then if you would introduce the rest of your panel. And again, we're short of time, so 2 minutes brief would be excellent. Thank you. Unmute, please.
Sorry, now I have 1:50. Thank you very much, Madam Chair and members of the delegation and Senator Castley. My name is Nick Manis, and I'm here today representing the Maryland Beer Wholesalers Association. We represent 22. The majority of those are family owned and operated, and with me today are 2 generational distributors that distribute only in Cecil and Harford County, and they'll go into some more points as to why we feel this is not needed at this time. I want to thank Delegate Riley and also Senator Castley for meeting with John Favazza and myself to discuss this issue prior to the hearing, and look forward to working on any and all alcohol issues with the delegation and the Senate. Let me first start off and say that we have a great relationship with our retail partners, especially during this pandemic era. The wholesalers were one of the businesses that were allowed to remain open in order to service the liquor stores in the area, to make sure everyone on this call was able to access any alcohol product they wanted. Northeast and Sentman, who are on the call, strictly deliver malt beverages. They might do an occasional wine, but 99% of their portfolio is malt beverages. Our family, my father prior to me since 1974, and I started in 1991, have represented the wholesalers. And Senator Castley is right. There are 5 counties that allow credit if they decide to do so. And there's only been one change since 1974, and that was in Worcester County, where there's credit regulated by the comptroller. And I'm not here to say just because something's been in place for that long that it should remain in place. However, this issue is one that is sensitive to both parties. There have been discussions in the past where instead of the 5 counties allowing credit, the wholesalers were looking to make the entire state cash. And on the reverse side, but when we've got together and talked with the retailers and the wholesalers, there are other concerns that were more pressing to them, such as services you provide to retailers, such as shelf sets, allocations, and things of that nature. So we want to make sure that our retailers are happy. And again, that this issue is one that when a wholesaler delivers beer, unlike wine and spirits, the wholesaler, as far as beer wholesalers in the retail establishments, once, maybe twice a week. Beer has a shelf life. So you'll see that our wholesalers have to be in there rotating product, because if that product goes out of date, i.e. it doesn't sell in the proper time, the wholesaler has to pick that product up and at his cost or her cost, and then replace that beer with new beer. So it's very important that the wholesaler contains inventory control with the retail, and that's one of the parts where they are very closely aligned. The wholesaler from their suppliers, so you have, let's say, the Anheuser-Busch, Miller Coors of the world, that's the supplier. They deliver to your constituent, which is the wholesalers, Sentman and Northeast, and then they deliver to the retailers. When that product leaves, let's say, St. Louis, Anheuser-Busch, the Michael Piles, Northeast, has to pay for that by electronic transfer. So he's paying for that as soon as it leaves the warehouse. And then he is buying a 30 to 45 day supply to be able to service all the retailers in his area that he's seeing 1 to 2 times a week. So he's already paid for the product. And that's why that, you know, their cash flow during this pandemic has been very, very challenging. Them being able to find drivers has been very, very challenging. And if you never have been to a distributorship, I encourage all of you, once this COVID is done, to go out and visit these warehouses, because you'd be shocked at the amount of beer and malt beverages they have in their warehouse that have to be climate controlled. And you'll see that it's amazing how much they have and how much turn they do every year, or on a weekly basis, really. So with that, I'll keep quiet, and you should hear from your constituents that have businesses, and but I want to make sure that you understand that we have a great relationship with our retailers. There are retailers that our members have contacted that are not supportive of this issue, and we can go more into that, and I'm sure they can contact you if you would like. But again, I want to thank Senator Casserly and you, Madam Chair, for meeting with us, and look forward to further discussions. Oh, you're on mute.
Thank you. Thank you, Nick, for coming. So do we want to go with Alan, I guess, next, or?
Yes, good morning.
Okay.
Good morning. First of all, Madam Chair, Senator Casserly, and remaining of delegation, thank you very much for your time and for your consideration this morning. In the interest of time, I just have 3 quick points to make. And one, I want to just kind of piggyback off of what Nick just said. And Nick, thank you for your excellent representation. But he talked about our partnership with our retailers and the relationships that we have with our retailers. We have had the relationships with our retailers. We're a long-term company, long-term relationships. We see our retailers on a weekly basis, quite often on a multiple times a week. We have salespeople making sales and then service calls. We have delivery drivers making deliveries. And if a customer needs multiple deliveries a week for whatever reason, sometimes it's cash flow, sometimes it's convenience. We have always been there for our retailers. Additionally, we do offer escrow accounts to retailers, which fits into the current law of cash on delivery, where a retailer can deposit an escrow account with us and use that as a drawdown. Different retailers use those escrow accounts for different reasons. We do offer them to all of our accounts, which in Harford County is approximately 200 accounts. We only have approximately 20 people who take advantage of that. So there really has been no ask for credit terms in the past. And if there is, our escrow account services, we believe covers that very well. And then second, I just wanted to give you a brief introduction to Sentiment Distributors. Sentiment Distributors is a family-owned distributor of Anheuser-Busch products. We've been in business for 80 years, currently run by the fourth generation of the family. We have 30 full-time employees, and when I say full-time employees, career positions who live and obviously work in Harford County, but who raise families and are long-term employees. And we think that's important to our business and to the relationships that we have with our retailers, that we have long-term businesses. And then my two final points would be this bill could result in an increase in price ultimately to consumers, because it would certainly add additional cost to our facility in that, for 80 years, we have not been set up to offer credit. We are compliant with the law and as such. That has worked for us so far. If we had to institute credit terms, that would be considerable additional cost and considerable additional expertise that we don't currently have, which leads me directly to my next point. And that could lead to an unfair advantage, which the basic premise, as Nick indicated, between the supplier, the wholesaler, and the retailer is that we are equal and independent in the three-tier system as it currently works. Offering credit terms, we don't know because we don't do it, but how should we do that? Should we offer better terms to better risk customers and lesser terms to lesser risk customers? And if so, that's really in direct contravention to alleviating an unfair advantage for larger retailers to take advantage of smaller retailers. And so we don't want that. As best that we know, and we have great relationships with our retailers. Most of our retailers, most of which we speak to all of which we speak to on a weekly basis, have not asked for credit. And we believe that the current services that we offer satisfy that. And speaking directly of the escrow account. And finally, I'd like to reiterate one more thing that Nick said. I would like to invite certainly Madam Chair and Senator Casserly to come and visit us in Elkton, where our warehouse is. Come and visit us, see our facilities, meet our employees, and see how we operate and the amount of inventory and costs that we currently carry. And you'll see that we are a small family-owned business who is operating successfully and in great partnership with our customers at this time. So once again, thank you for your time and consideration. If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much. And now we will move to Michael Powell from, I guess, Northeast Beverage.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair and Senator Casserly and the rest of the delegation for hearing me today. I'm with Northeast Beverage, located right there in Northeast Maryland. We've been in business for 30 years, and we do a lot with Harford County, including the Bel Air Downtown Alliance and other charitable organizations that we help support to raise awareness for their organizations. Regarding this bill, the big thing that I would like to stress is that the knowledge that the customers have when it comes to this bill, with it already being established in Baltimore County, this, like Alan presented and Nick presented, there will be an increase, there will be an application fee, and all in all, there will be a lot of things that will happen on a negative end. They have touched on a lot of the points already, so I do not want to be repetitive, but just really want to point out that the effect this would have in the long term that I see is that you would have accounts that right now have a stable cash flow and they are used to paying their bills week to week, day to day, that we service. And with them allowing credit, whatever terms that we decide to have set, the stability of their income into their stores would be changing, and you would be putting those customers at risk where we would then have to charge a penalty charge or something for late payments, and we would have to charge a credit fee, which would increase overall, I would think, the price of beer in those stores, just like a credit card company currently does with it. But like I already said, Alan and Nick have brought up majority of my talking points and my opposed points that I would like to have presented. So I don't want to be repetitive, and I know there is a time thing here. So just like Alan, I would like to invite anybody after COVID is done and all the restrictions have been lifted to come on up and, help me better explain this when we have more time, and I can show you the business and explain, why this would not be the best thing to have in the beer business in Harford County. In my opinion, Harford County, from a standpoint from around the rest of the state, has been one of the best managed counties from a retailer and distributor standpoint. So with that, I'll just like to thank you again for hearing us out. And if there's any further questions, feel free to ask.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Pyle. We do also have the Vice Chair, Paul, from the Harford County Liquor Control Board. We do have currently a letter of support from them. Do you have any comments at this time before we go to discussion?
We do support this bill. It was been brought up to our attention from some of our smaller retailers that this would help them with cash flow in their business. So we do have sent a letter of support.
Okay, thank you very much. And so now we're going to be, thank you to the panel. We appreciate you coming and having this discussion with us. We're going to move to discussion, and I see Delegate Lasanti has her hand up.
Yes, thank you very much. And thank you for all of the panelists for being here. My question is really probably for the sponsors and maybe for the liquor board as well. What has changed? What is the problem that we are trying to solve? Is there a relationship issue? Is there a particular retailer that has a problem with cash flow?
I see Delegate, Senator Castley is going to answer your question.
Yeah, I think Mr. Majewski stated it pretty clearly that it's the smaller outfits, the smaller retailers who run into cash flow problems, especially with all the financial restrictions of COVID. And they look across the line at Baltimore County where they are allowed to have credit. So it's pretty simple that. I mean, it's not like there's an animosity between the retailers and the wholesalers. Nobody's bad mouthing. I mean, these are two very respected companies in here, absolute respect for them. So this isn't a, we don't trust or dislike the wholesalers. It's far from it.
Okay, so, but as a follow-up though, and I guess maybe the question, Senator, is really then to the two suppliers. If there's an individual situation where a retailer is having problems with cash flow or has an unforeseen situation, do you work with them, or is it just, cash on delivery, status quo?
Okay, I see Michael, Mr. Pyle is going to answer that.
We work with them in as far as we can in the range of the law. I mean, we are a cash on delivery, so we cannot technically do anything else besides that, but we do offer, the escrow account. And if when it comes down to it, we work within their budget. I mean, they're not forced to buy more product than they can afford. So with that, I mean, we work around, I can speak for my distributor only, obviously, but we don't have high deal levels anymore during this COVID-19 pandemic. We lowered, so basically there's no huge deals anymore. And we've worked, that's been the main reason why we try to be the best partner we can for these retail accounts to help them out throughout all this.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Pyle, for that comment. We'll move to Delegate Johnson and then Delegate Nicolario.
So I would like to also comment on that as well, Madam Chairman.
Okay, can you wait until after?
Yes, absolutely.
Delegate Johnson, and then maybe you can answer two questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I think I heard Senator Castley say that this was not mandatory, that it was if you wanted to participate, number one. And then the question for Alan, would this option, just having more flexibility and more options, would this not help with business startups and small businesses that wanted to grow?
So I don't believe so. And the reason why I say I don't believe so is because, and as Mike was alluding to, we do work with our retailers within the confines of the law. So if a retailer says, hey, you know what, I can't pay for all of this week, we can deliver it to them multiple times a week, which we do on many occasions, literally every single week. So for a larger retailer, they look at us, they have no problem receiving a delivery once a week, and whatever the cash bill is, they're fine. They just pay it. It's not a problem. And it's more convenient for them to receive one delivery per week. For a smaller retailer, and they say, you know what, my cash flow doesn't work. Can you deliver me on a Friday? You know, that's better for them because obviously they're selling most of their product on a Saturday, Friday and Saturday. Or they ask for multiple deliveries per week, which we always accommodate. And we can do that into perpetuity. And then finally, our escrow account resolves that issue as well. And they can set up the escrow account at any level they want to. If they want to pay once a month on escrow, they can deposit their average bill per week times 4 with us, and that's a drawdown account. If they want to pay once a week, they can deposit a single week's average with us, and we'll deliver them once a week or multiple times per week. So I believe the services that we currently offer work well for them. And more importantly, when you talk about the smaller accounts and you say that, you know, they're the ones disadvantaged by this, they're also the ones who could potentially be most disadvantaged by credit terms. Because as I asked earlier, because I really don't know the answer, if we offered different credit terms, or if we were pushed into offering different credit terms by larger retailers because they have better credit, they would want better terms. That provides an unfair advantage to the larger retailers and an unfair disadvantage to the smaller retailers. And one final question also, or one final point is, as Mike also said, when he's talking about the deals that we offer, and what he means there is by the quantity discount. So you get one price if you buy one case, you get another price if you buy 100 cases. We have all, Mike and myself, have both brought down the quantities of our deals. And we've also stopped making deals that go 2 weeks on and 2 weeks off. So you have to buy at least 2 weeks, or 1 month on and 1 month off. We've gone to everyday low pricing in an effort to accommodate smaller retailers especially during the last 2 years, and hopefully not too much longer. But we always work with our customers constantly because they support our business. They are our business.
Okay, we thank you very much. I hate to cut anybody off, but we are short of time. We only have probably about 55 minutes before we go to the floor. So Delegate Johnson, a short follow-up real quick. Okay, so he's done. So thank you, and move to Delegate Impleri, and then we have Paul has a comment as well.
Okay, so I'm going to try to be quick. So we've heard bills that, and we're hearing the liquor board is in trouble and don't have enough money. Now we're hearing a bill that this is something that would help the businesses. And I know Senator Cassidy and that liquor establishments have come to me and said they want to own their licenses, which would help them because then they could borrow against their licenses, which they do in Baltimore County. That is a hard piece of real estate that they can go to the bank with and borrow funds to help their business out. And when it comes time for them to retire and get out, they can sell that and they can get their money back from it. So rather than continue to do these small things that will help a few, why don't we consider actually making it that the liquor license holders own their license? They can pay a fee to the liquor board for that ownership, which would give the liquor board a strong influx of money so they can continue to run their operation and not be in a hole. And at the same time, it gives them the opportunity to business owners to be able to now use that license to make improvements because they can go to the bank and they can borrow money against that license, and it gives them a future investment that they can sell. What's your thoughts on that, Senator Cassidy? Because I know they have talked to you about that.
Yeah, thanks, Delegate. No, I've heard that. I hadn't. It's an interesting concept. I haven't investigated enough to, that this bill doesn't say that. Obviously, I didn't go down that line. It's something I'm willing to discuss, but as far as talk in detail, it's not something I'm prepared to do right now. But I appreciate where you're coming from. So.
And thank you, Senator. I just want to bring the fact up that These are ongoing problems that we've heard for years. There are ongoing solutions that continue to be rejected, and we need to look at those rather than, put a Band-Aid on a shotgun blast on a elephant's butt. So.
Okay, thank you, Delegate Impalaria.
Right, but
But, okay, so we do have to stick to this particular bill that's on the table right now, but we do appreciate that comment, and it is something that we probably should look at as a body. So do I see, Paul, did you have a comment? I saw your hand
Yeah,
up.
the comment that we have is that this does help the small retail owners, and it makes the playing field more even with some of their larger competitors.
Okay, thank you very much. Do I see any further discussion? Okay, Mr. Powell, quick follow-up, please.
I just saw Paul in that regard. So you said it would do the complete opposite of making it an even playing field, because we would be forced to charge a credit fee just like they pay with that. So they would actually, in the long run, be paying more for their beer and have higher prices compared to the stores that elect not to go with credit terms.
Okay, thank you. All right. I do want to thank Mr. Manis for coming on, and both of the gentlemen that came from Setman and Northeast for your comments. We look forward to hearing from you again as well. You can send in written testimony, a follow-up on that we can send out to the delegation. Probably next week, we will have this bill as discussion as well. We may have some folks that may join us that support the bill, some of those retailers, but you're more than welcome to come again next week as well. And we're going to table this particular bill. Is that okay with you, Senator Castley? We'll table it until further discussion next week. So we ask the delegation to please, read the bill in more detail, come up with your ideas and your comments, and possibly be ready, to vote on this particular bill next week. So thank you again to our panel. Now we have to move on to LR 1870. And this one goes into talking about the Harford County Board of Education members. We had one that Delegate Impalaria put in last week. We have this one from Delegate Griffith. I know we're probably going to run out of time, but we're going to try to discuss this one somewhat. And then all of these Board of Election bills will be held off until 2 weeks from now when we can address those. Feel free at that time, if you feel like you have to go ahead and drop it because it's kind of late so that you can get a bill hearing, you can do that. And then hopefully we can then amend it as a Harford County delegation bill. Hopefully Charity can do that for us. I know last year we could not, but I think that's changed this year. So that would not be such a big deal there. So Delegate Griffith, introduce your first one.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And this is an issue that, many of us have been working on for a long time. I've been intimately involved in this for a year and a half of trying to, make sure that we have good representation on the Board of Education and local control and folks involved in the process that understand, the concerns of our constituents. So what this bill does, a very simple bill. And it solves a number of problems. I would certainly prefer to have an all-elected school board, but having an even number of council districts makes that impossible. And having members elected at large, or having all the members elected at large, is not viable because it takes away the grassroots nature of what a Board of Education is meant to be. So I do believe the current model of having the 6 elected members be based upon the council district is preferable to our constituents. To solve the 7th member, what I did was, right now, we are one of only 3 counties in the state that the governor appoints full voting members. It's us, Baltimore County, and Caroline. Anne Arundel County does have 1 student member appointed to 1-year terms that does not have full voting power appointed by the governor. So we are out of step with every major jurisdiction in the state of Maryland. And I think it's important that we get in line with that. So what this bill does, it removes the 3 members that are appointed by the governor and replaces it by 1 member appointed by the county executive. and confirmed by the county council with 5 of the 7 votes. And then, I know the bell's ringing, so we got to go. This bill, what it also does, there's a sunset, so it does allow the 3 appointed members by the governor to complete their terms, which end June 30th of 2023. And the new member appointed by the county executive and county council will take place on July 1st of 2023.
Thank you, Delegate Griffin. I don't think we even have time for discussion. I do apologize. But please read these bills, that there are some differences between the 2 delegates, and be ready to, hopefully pass one of these or a combination 2 weeks from now. But what I'm looking for now before everybody leaves is a motion to start next week's meeting at 8:30 so that we can complete the liquor bills, because it's going to be quite extensive, I believe, and a second. So Delegate McComas, put your hand up.
So move. So
Second.
move.
For the motion to start at 8:30
Yes.
next week? And, okay, so any discussion on that? Okay, if you do not agree with the motion, raise your hand. Okay, so the motion passed that we will be starting our delegation meeting next week at 8:30 a.m. Thank you all. See you on the floor. And thank you to our guests and those watching on live.